Hi there, and welcome to Plant CO. We're actually at Veg-Net 2024. So I'd like to welcome Mike and Joe, the co-founders of One Planet Pizza. Hey guys, how you doing?
Matt? All good.
Good morning.
Good,
All
good.
Yeah, a bit tired after a busy event, but all good.
Fantastic event, by the way.
Thank you.
Really good show. Great turnout. Great to see a number of plant-based brands here and the buyers and connecting them too. So can you just tell me how you're involved in it?
Yeah, sure. So most people in the plant-based sector know me as the father and son team that's sitting before you, One Planet Pizza. But actually, for 25 years, I've been running another business in another sector, the health and fitness sector. And in that sector, we've been running buyer meets supplier events for about 15 years. And they work really well at breaking down barriers between the buyers, the brands, and the suppliers.
Yeah.
And it's all based on an intensive day of networking, with some educational stuff and meetings. And we thought, well, if this model works in the health and fitness sector, could we bring it across to the plant-based sector? So this year was the test year, if you like, to see if the concept worked. We had about 20 brands coming along, about 18 buyers, various sponsors and supporters. And we were really pleased with how the first year went. And the feedback so far has been amazing.
Yeah. And what was your experience? Because you were talking to the buyers as well from a One Planet Pizza point of view.
Yeah, I was in the trenches.
Yeah.
It was great. Yeah, so really good setup. Had a table, was amongst fellow vegan brands. So lucky enough to pitch to Ocado, which which for me has taken a long time to get in front of. So this event has suddenly unlocked that door.
Yeah, brilliant.
And you get really valuable amount of time with them. Most importantly, you get the product in front of them and they're tasting it as you talk to them.
Yeah.
So you've got a captive audience.
Right.
Even though they weren't the frozen plant-based buyer, they're going to introduce me later this week, and they can already vouch for the brand and the product.
That's awesome. So yeah, from my perspective, thank you for inviting me. And obviously, we spoke about investment and finance in the plant-based space with some of the brands that were there, as well as marketing. So it was good to hear the challenges the startups are going through in terms of finance. Where would you say generally the market is at?
It's a really interesting time. So generally what we're seeing is that the sector has enjoyed years of explosive growth, almost unrivaled in the last few decades in the film sector. And then naturally that growth has had to slow down. So it's reaching what we think now is a stage of maturity. If you throw in the cost of living crisis, energy crisis, and everyone looking for value and to save a lot of money, then plant-based has seen sales slow down and supermarkets reducing their ranges, which has been a real challenge for a lot of challenger brands. And actually now the dust has settled and we're starting to see supermarkets opening up their doors again and looking at innovation and what's next.
Right.
So we've got this split now in plant-based, with a lot of people still hungry for the classic alternatives to meat and dairy that are very, very much focusing on taste and texture and replicating those animal products. But then also now we've got this emerging demand for healthier whole foods alternatives, mainly in the protein space.
Right, exactly, with less ingredients.
Less ingredients, moving away from the fear around processed and ultra processed.
Yeah, exactly.
So Mike's original roots with lots of lentils and beans and peas and and finding your protein from traditional plants.
Yeah. And where would you say the market is and also the innovation in pizza is?
Yeah, so with pizza, we've kind of bucked the trend, luckily. So we found that post cost of living, well, we're still in the cost of living crisis, really, and a lot of people are coming into frozen because they know that's where they can save some money and really get value in there.
Yeah.
And also avoid any food waste at the same time.
Yeah.
So frozen has enjoyed some growth. A lot of it's driven by own label within the supermarkets.
Yeah.
But some of the brands that can prove their worth in that space, luckily for us, we've done that, and we've actually enjoyed some really nice growth within Asda in particular. The last 6 months alone, we've really noticed that difference with new customers coming into the category, looking for healthier, more sustainable, cleaner options within plant-based.
Yeah. What's the size, I guess, of the pizza market in Europe?
I think at the moment, Mike, it's roughly, was it
5.2
billion roughly
dollars.
And that is what exactly? Is that retail? Is that effectively in takeaway?
No, that's just the frozen market.
Just the
European frozen.
European
and not chilled.
No,
just frozen. Okay,
it's a big market.
It's a huge market. I didn't know it was so big.
And we've always had that target. If we can, our aim is to get just 1% of that.
1%.
Obviously, that equates to $5.6 million business.
And
1 in every 100 pizzas being vegan, frozen vegan pizzas, doesn't seem too much of a stretch.
Realistic goal. And it's growing year on year, frozen pizza, so it's a great place to be. It's about between 4 and 5% last 3 or 4 years. Seeing that nice steady growth.
Great. And I guess if you were to look at the market in general, how is it split today between people buying chilled pizza and frozen pizza? Like for me personally, I would always buy I've always bought frozen pizza anyway. I've never really sort of bought chilled pizza. Where would you say the percentages are, and how is that going to change in the future?
It's a good question. So chilled is still bigger, but only slightly for us, and that gap seems to be closing in. So if you go down the chilled aisle in any supermarket, you'll have a much bigger range of pizzas. A lot more own label. You've still got some brands in there. And the average price is much higher, so it goes up to £5, £6, even £7 in some supermarkets. Whereas in frozen, the range is slightly smaller, but you've probably got more brands, and the average price is much lower. So the gap is closing. I think frozen is, people are starting to discover that you can get the same quality pizza at a lower price in frozen. And the shelf life obviously is an issue.
And I guess it doesn't, everyone's concerned about food wastage. So that's a really good point to have,
I think people
lasting longer.
One phrase is the frozen is the new fresh, and people are realizing that these days frozen can actually be healthier.
Exactly.
Because with the new production techniques, things are frozen so quickly that they actually keep their nutritional value, whether that be, vegetables or pizzas, the same applies. And so now our co-manufacturer uses state-of-the-art production to produce it and freeze it down really quickly. So we have a long shelf life, and the quality, even after 12 months, is pretty much the same as when it was cooked fresh.
Amazing.
And this is sourdough, which is, for a long time, you couldn't get a decent sourdough pizza in the frozen aisle at all. So there are now a couple of brands, but we're the only ones within plant-based that offer that full sourdough range. So it just shows there's this premiumization within frozen. People are willing to spend a little bit more. It's still a lot cheaper than going and buying a Domino's or even a chilled pizza. Similar quality.
Is sourdough naturally gluten-free? Or no, there's differences?
I mean, whether it's gluten-free or not depends on the flour. So most gluten-free bases are based on rice flour, for example. I'm not sure whether you actually can do the sourdough with gluten-free or not. It probably hasn't got enough gluten in it. Surprise, surprise, because obviously the gluten is the thing that gives the stretch and the binding, and stuff. So it's pretty much all sourdough pizzas are going to be traditional, wheat-based bases.
Got it. And so, Mike, do you want to just tell us what inspired you first of all to create the company, and what your own, I guess, journey was like? Joe was saying that you were eating plant-based for a long time now, right?
So I've been vegan 40 years.
Amazing.
This is my 40th year. So
he doesn't like to talk about it.
Without giving my age away, I was only 19, 20 when back in the 80s. I turned vegan.
And were you vegetarian before? Or?
Only for a year or so.
And what led the change for you back in?
Well, a bit of a strange story, but I was doing zoology A-level. Part of that we had to do dissection. We were working our way up the evolutionary scale. So we started off with worms and insects, and each week we went up and up and up until we came to bunny rabbits. The lecturer walked in one morning. It was always Tuesday morning. He walked in with 2 white bunny rabbits, holding them by the ears, and said, right, this is what we're doing today. Went away, killed them, brought in a dozen of them, and we had to dissect them, and we had to do it over weeks. And they used to keep them in the formaldehyde, to stop them decomposing. But it was just awful. My mum always used to give me ham sandwiches for lunch. And one day, I was second or third week in of dissecting these rabbits. I then went to lunch, tried to eat my ham sandwiches, just couldn't eat them because I've made that connection between the rabbits and what I was eating the sandwich. I remember distinctly going back to my mum and saying, no, I'm really sorry. You have to do the cheese sandwiches from now on. And then I had to have a word with my lecturer and say I didn't want to do the dissection anymore. Luckily, we just about reached the end of that. So. And then, and so that was about a year and a half of vegetarian. Then I went to university, met another vegan, and we were sharing self-catering flats. So he introduced me to cutting out the dairy. Introduced me to some books, and because we didn't have an internet then. It was old-fashioned books, which were talking even then about the health impacts of dairy and meat, and also the environmental impacts, which is incredible that back in the 80s, some people were already saying this food system is not sustainable.
Do you remember the books that you read?
Yeah, one of the classic ones was Diet for a Small Planet.
Okay, right.
And there was another famous book, I can't remember the author, called Small is Beautiful.
Right, okay.
Two very famous books, and both were talking about how the food system and the way it links in with the geopolitics of the world, of big pharma and big meat, big dairy. And even back then, when everything was much smaller and we didn't have the large factories that we had, it was starting to be obvious that the population of the world going up and people increasing, because the growth of meat and dairy back then was like this. It's leveled off a bit, obviously in Western countries now, but people were getting more affluent and they're eating more and more meat and dairy at that stage.
Right.
So for me, it was a combination of the health, the environment, and ethical reasons.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then, how did the startup journey start, and where was the inspiration to create?
Well, we always loved pizza, so Saturday night was always pizza night in the little household. So we used to get the meatloaf on. And Joe and his sisters would help me make the pizzas from scratch. So take the flour and raise it, make the tomato sauce. And then I'd make 2 batches, and one of them would have the cheese on for the rest of the family who were vegetarian. And then mine would have no cheese because there wasn't any vegan cheese that much, so I just had pizzas for
Saddest thing as a kid
without cheese. And that went on all the time when the kids were growing up. And then Joe went off to university, came back, got his first job from university, and then I had a vegetarian restaurant at the time, and we started experimenting and with pizzas, and Joe was looking for a change, and I really wanted to help him get involved in his own business. Because I came to that sort of halfway through my career and never regretted then moving away from working for someone else to start my own business.
Exactly,
and I think it's fair to say we got on pretty well.
Yes.
We're very, some people say
you're speaking on his behalf. Is that the case?
Some people
As
say
he always does.
we're too similar. But we thought, let's give this a go. I suppose the other key point was that we saw a big gap in the market. We suspected that the vegan marketplace was going to take off, and there just wasn't a frozen vegan pizza at that time. We were pretty much the first original one in the marketplace.
And so date-wise, when was that?
It was about seven years ago now.
8 years ago now. Always trying to catch up with time.
Yeah, amazing. So 7-8 years ago, I mean, I remember seeing you guys at different conferences. And this was even before I started the channel. So I remember you guys were always grafting, you're always there talking to customers, getting people to try the pizza, which is amazing. And it's good to see how you've built up the business to what it is today.
Thank you.
What's been some of the challenges? Number one, father and son relationship. It'd be good to know about that. And also business-wise, what's been challenging, because it's obviously been a long time. You've gone through different iterations. So where would you say that has been?
Do you want me to kick off, mate? Well, we were talking about this at the event. One of the biggest challenges we've gone through was actually, it wasn't Brexit, it wasn't COVID, it was more the energy crisis, which really forced our hand to go and find a manufacturer and outsource production. So for many years, we always wanted to keep it all in-house. We had a small office and production kitchen that we built ourselves, and we had a lovely team. And I was explaining yesterday to the audience that my mum was the team leader in the kitchen. And we had some family and friends who worked there. So it was a very nice family business.
Totally.
And then all of a sudden, all the cost of energy went up, and we had this big walk-in freezer and a big kitchen, and the lights were always on. And we really had to sit down and say, we just can't afford to stay here anymore. The investors needed us to come up with a bit of a survival plan. So we made the very difficult decision quite quickly to close the whole operation down and to take a bit of a gamble and move all of our production out to this amazing factory Mike found in the Netherlands. Which was such a difficult emotional thing to have to do, because there were like family members involved and redundancies. But it really did force us to be very critical and look at what do we want to achieve and how much are we willing to do to achieve it.
Right.
And, is the business worth taking this risk on? And we decided, yes, there's still demand.
Yeah.
We still believe in what we're doing.
Right.
And actually it ended up being probably eventually a good decision for the company because we've got a better product. We've unlocked huge potential for capacity now.
Yeah.
And we've got this BRC factory partner who are helping unlock doors in Europe.
Yeah. And how is that working now, especially for Europe?
Yeah, one of the challenges, similar in the UK, but more so in some countries like Germany, is just the price.
Right.
So frozen pizza is so price sensitive.
Right.
And they just want the lowest price possible.
Right.
And high volume.
Yeah.
And we're a big impact of Aldi and Lidl in Germany, isn't there?
Yeah. So they've really driven that price down. And we're trying to come in with a better quality, planet-friendly product. That really serves more of a purpose.
Yeah.
And so there's this educational piece we have to do with buyers,
right,
which takes a lot of time.
But
we're seeing that dial move recently. So we had some good meetings with Germany, for example, yesterday, and I think it's going to start getting better. But that's been the main barrier. Some countries like the Netherlands, we've been in for a while now in the supermarkets, and that's going really nicely. And the sales are fairly strong. But really, the most of the growth for us has been in the UK.
Right.
Which is bizarre. We just moved the production over to the continent, and
then suddenly now
our UK is where the growth is for us.
And which retailers are you in today?
At the moment, Asda is our main one. So we've got our one SKU, our pepperoni, which is our hero product. Rate of sale is way above average.
Nice.
So that's going well in 400 plus stores.
Amazing.
Hopefully, I mean, we heard some good news yesterday. Can't make it public yet. But within the next few weeks, should be announcing, touch wood and everything else, our second UK retailer. Which will be massive for us.
Right.
It is, I mean, for any other brands out there, watch is very easy to get despondent because it does take so much time and effort. With supermarkets at the moment, their decision-making process is just probably twice as long as it was 3 years ago. And you're very dependent on their reviews. When their reviews are, they're restructuring, buyers coming in, buyers coming out. So it can take a long time to build those relationships and then get an actual listing over the line.
Hey guys, it is Veganuary 2024 and we are Asda HQ sampling our full plant-based sourdough range.
Yes, so we're the UK's first frozen vegan pizza. And we slightly spicy flavours.
Right guys, that's a wrap. We've just fed the whole of Asda HQ. They all love the pizzas. Their favourite is the Tex-Mex. They currently stock the pepperoni. What would you like to see them stock next?
Those videos are always good.
Yeah.
With you in a big pizza box.
But really it's getting the pizza in front of people. That's what we've learned is the biggest thing.
Right.
Because most of these people in Asda at the moment buying the pizza aren't vegan. They're just interested. They're open omnivores or they're flexitarians. Or they know someone who's vegan.
What's the difference between an open omnivore and a flexitarian?
Yeah, good question. So, so a flexitarian is loosely defined as anyone who's actively reducing their intake of meat and dairy.
Right.
So it's a conscious decision. Right. Whereas open omnivores represent a larger majority of the population.
Right.
And these are people who still eat meat and dairy and animal products. They still, without knowing it, eat accidentally vegan, plant-based meals at the same time. So open omnivores wouldn't consider themselves flexitarians. They're not actively reducing,
but they're open to the idea.
But they're open to it. So they're the ones that we can potentially win over if we appeal to them in the right way.
And my day job's in marketing. I was actually working with Asda on the retail media side, where basically you could, as a brand, run adverts on their online property. And they would basically, where we came in is that we would give high impact ads that ran on site. So when you're in that purchase making decision, you could have an ad come up on Asda, which would say, oh, here's a video ad, or here's something that will complement the pizza that you're looking at. So it's kind of like on-site marketing, and that is going through the roof at the moment. So you got two types. You either have on-site retail or off-site retail.
Yeah.
What you can do from an advert point of view is get a real-time feed of prices. So if a price changes on the product,
Okay.
then whether it's Asda doing the promotion, so they can say whatever's on promotion will list.
Yeah.
And if you've been known to buy plant-based products or are flexitarian, for example, it could target you with those relevant ads. So that whole advertising marketplace, especially for retailers, getting dynamic, personalized content
much smarter.
is much smarter. And obviously you can do that on search and on social, where you can target sort of trade areas. So a radius of where as locations are, and only target, because there's no point you advertising to where it's not listed. So all these things, especially for digital, big, really advanced.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, talk to them about that.
Will
See if they have any.
Yeah.
It's Gig Retail, I think, is the one in for Asda.
We've
It's pricey. That's the only thing.
It is
For a startup. That's the thing.
Yeah.
But I've got an idea for you, a marketing idea for social. So there's a band called in the 80s. You might know this, being more of a hip hop fan. I think we had a discussion before. A band called Naughty by Nature.
Yeah,
remember that?
You'll know the song, Mike. I think we've.
I think you should sing it.
I don't think the world needs that.
But the song OPP.
Yeah.
Same.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get it?
It's got the ABC rhythm in the background.
Right.
From the Jacksons.
Yeah.
We've put that on here.
Oh, yeah, I do remember the OPP one. Yeah.
Yeah. So
the actual meaning is pretty.
I mean, people would say other people's property, but there was around the internet there was other words, other meanings.
Yeah. We've had a bit of backlash using that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, you did do it.
Yeah, it's all good fun, but
it's obviously it's the same, abbreviation.
We need to reclaim that song.
You can reclaim it and create a dance craze around it. Maybe I'll inject a video from where they did the Soul Train in the 80s and they had people dancing to it. You can reclaim it as that. That would be quite awesome.
We're
just thinking about social. Where is that?
We'll try anything.
Get some dance influencers to do some dance moves for you to try and say, or you could learn. In your pizza box.
We're still recovering from the last few music videos me and Mike did.
Oh yeah, what was that then?
We did raps. We've done a rap or two.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that one.
You can call it that.
Yeah.
We did the Christmas
song.
I think I missed the Christmas one.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely did to work on that. Where's innovation happening in pizza? Obviously, we spoke about the Tex-Mex, which is amazing. I think you're right, especially people like spicy food, including myself. I would normally I actually love pineapple. I know that can be quite divided on my pizza with jalapenos and spicy. So I completely understand that. Where do you think the other innovation, like calzone pizzas, for example, is that a thing? Are people working on that as from a frozen point of view? What other things do you have ideas? Is there innovation on the types of flour? There's definitely benefits of having different types of flour in your diet. So where would you see that could be going?
Well, I think the innovation, I would say, is going to come from two areas. Well, two areas that I'm excited about.
Yeah.
And we saw it at this event with looking at the insights. One thing that comes up a lot from flexitarians and these open omnivores is that to come into the category, they want to see more choice, more flavour varieties.
Right.
That's backed up by our own research from Viper.
Okay.
When we ask retail shoppers, they want better options, more flavours.
Yeah.
So I think next, when we're in a few more supermarkets, and with Asda, we really need to look at, what's that next big flavour based on the current food trends?
Right, okay.
So after, I think Tex-Mex at the moment is perfect.
Definitely, yeah.
And then looking ahead, is that a meat feast
Right.
Is it a spicy chicken pizza? So many flavors in plant-based that aren't out there at the moment.
That's right.
That people want but don't necessarily know they want.
Even 4 cheeses, right?
Cheese.
Obviously we need to wait until the cheese innovation is really, maybe precision fermentation will definitely help with that, right?
And mushroom is a really hot topic in plant-based at the moment. People are doing incredible things with mushrooms. And the mushroom root, the mycelium as well.
Okay.
So perhaps in the future there's meaty pizzas using healthier alternatives like shiitake mushroom. And the other one from me quickly is that protein is not going away as a hot topic too. So this demand for protein products is still going through the roof. And in plant-based, I think that's amplified because of this concern around people not getting enough protein when they move to plant-based. So
you could add enhanced protein.
There's
a high protein pizza
toppings and on the base.
It's easy enough to do. It's just figuring out where best to do it.
And I think you mentioned at Veg-Net about the market for people buying plant-based food in the supermarkets, right?
Yeah.
What was that stat again? What are you seeing?
Yeah, this is the research we carried out for Veg-Net using Viper. And when the headline figures was that it was 50%, wasn't it, Joe? 50% of adults have purchased a plant-based alternative, and by that group, so we're not talking apples and pears here, we're talking milk, meat, dairy alternatives. So in the last 6 months, 50% of adults have made a purchase. So I think that shows there's a lot of people out there that are dipping in and out of the market and trying, an oatmeal or this sausage or a One Planet pizza. And they're the people that we need to focus on through taste and value for money, convenience, and get them once they've tried it and hopefully have a good experience to become a more regular buyer.
Very good. So I just want to end on one thing. Would you say you're both spiritual? And I think you are. I think we spoke before about Buddhism and obviously a connection. And I watched Christspiracy recently. And there were some debates afterwards within the community of Christspiracy around Buddha being a vegan, basically, and then traveling to other places like India and promoting veganism, actually. And that had a lot of work. And whether those influences actually influenced Christ even to change in a way. So from being a Hindu and a vegan myself, there's obviously that cultural side. But where do you both rely on?
My sort of roots, and one of the reasons that I went vegetarian, apart from the white bunny was that I was interested in Buddhism. That was my initial readings, and my spiritual meditation practice was very Buddhist. And there is, depending on which type of Buddhism you're in.
And what do you still
I was a bit more Zen when I was doing my meditation.
And that's where you would blank everything out of your mind, right? Or you try to, and not, and if thoughts come in, you try and deal with it and then let it out.
If you're over in Japan, which I never was, but if you're in a Japanese monastery doing Zen and someone comes along with a big stick and whacks you on the back, so it's that sort of, we never did that.
I was
into the peaceful side of it. So, but the thing that fascinates me about Buddhism, and you'll know this, is that I spend a fair bit of time in Thailand, and it's predominantly Buddhist. Hardly any of the Buddhists are vegetarian.
I mean, that's crazy, right?
But people feel that, always think that, but it depends whether it's India, Thailand, or Japan or China. I feel that the original message, and even Buddhist monks, it's really interesting. I've had to actually talk to Buddhist monks who are predominantly sort of vegetarian, but if people come along, it's this tradition of leaving food out for months. And
they don't want it to waste.
And then, so if someone comes along and leaves meat or fish out for these monks, then they feel obliged to eat it. And another just very interesting story is I had a friend who was Hare Krishna. And you'll know that obviously milk, the cow is very sacred. And a lot of Hindus believe that it's a gift from God, don't they? Milk. But it's interesting now that some of them are beginning to realise that the way it's produced certainly isn't a gift from God.
I'm really against that. Also with milk being used actually in religious ceremonies to wash a shivling, for example. And it's just so much waste. And a lot of it is actually leads to a lot of cruelty in India, for example. A cow will be seen quite sacred, they may treat that cow amazingly well,
yeah.
but sometimes those cows are taken off the streets and then slaughtered for meat, to a different state where it's legal to slaughter that out.
I didn't
So
know
yeah,
that.
so that's a big issue. That awareness really isn't there. And also, you know, in India, it's the highest place of vegetarians. So like in terms of making a switch, that should be a key focus globally, I think, for attention to drive that.
Yeah, I think in India, going back to our original discussion about protein, they've been getting their protein from plant-based sources.
I mean, dals, lentils, everything.
For centuries, thousands of years.
Exactly.
And, there's not been a protein deficit problem in the
population
over 2,000 years.
It's an educational piece in the UK, isn't it?
It is,
People are just not sure where they get their protein from. When I talk to my friends who love food and are really excited and passionate about cooking, constantly having to show them, you know, actually this has this, you know, slice of brown bread has this much protein, brown rice has this, you know, potatoes have some, your peas have this, and constantly reassuring them, if you're eating a balanced, colourful diet, you're going to get your protein.
And it's great for your gut microbiome, right? When you eat the rainbow.
Not
when I ate it in the hotel room last night. At 12 o'clock.
I must admit though, today, like it's a blessing where we can come into a venue and everything's vegan and you don't have to worry about anything.
It's counterintuitive. When we first walked in, I saw the croissants yesterday morning, and I just automatically went into that mode. I wonder if that's vegan.
That's what happened with me. I was like, oh God, I can't have those. And you kind of miss
it's that constant self-denial that we're used to, isn't it?
Problem is now we have to indulge, don't we?
Exactly.
You don't have it for long.
So guys, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure.
Congratulations on the great event with Veg-Net.
Thank you.
Wish you continued success with One Planet Pizza and doing all the good that you keep on doing. So thanks.
Yeah, appreciate it, mate.
Brilliant. Thanks for that.
Talk all day.
Thanks guys. See you later.
Cheers.
Bye now.
Bye.